Okay guys, so this video we're going to have a look at paper 1 section B, which is the imaginative writing element of your exam. And specifically what we're going to be looking at is how to plan effectively before you start writing this question. So just a reminder, this is a 40-mark question, and because it's so many marks, we would expect you to spend at least 45 minutes preparing and writing it. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, well, if it's such a big question and I've only got 45 minutes to write, why am I wasting my time planning? Shouldn't I just get straight in there and write it? Well, the answer to that is quite simply no. The reason you should plan is because in our experience, from all the PPEs we've done, from all the past papers, students who have bothered to spend the time planning do better in this question. You get more marks. Reasons for that are pretty straightforward. First of all, if you plan, you're more likely to not run out of time because you know where you're going with your story, so you're less likely to just kind of waffle on. You're also less likely to write yourself into a corner. Very often what we see with these stories is people start writing and then kind of lose track of where they were going with an idea and it stops making sense. So, really important to plan what you're writing before you're going to start. Finally, it allows you to concentrate on the quality of your writing. If you know what's happening step by step in your story, then when you actually put pen to paper to write it, all you need to think about is writing the best quality story that you can possibly come across. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at a question from this section together, and we're going to go through the process that I would go through if I were going to write this myself. So the question we're going to use is from your most recent PPE, and we're going to have a look at question 5 together. So question 5 tells us to write about a day when something went wrong. Your response could be real or imagined. That second bit there, real or imagined, that's quite important because it doesn't limit us. It allows you to use your entire imagination and come up with any circumstance, any situation that you can think of. So you do not have to be a student from Holyhead living your day-to-day life. You can be anyone you want to be in any circumstance you like. You know, they're really opening it up for you to do anything you can. So the question tells us specifically to talk about a day when something went wrong. Now you don't get much broader than that in terms of the parameters of a question, which is great for us because what it means is that you can really engage your imagination and you can come up with something original and interesting. The only requirement is that something has to go a bit wrong. So let's go through now how I would attempt to tackle the planning of this question. So the first thing I need to do is to think about my audience. The audience for this paper is always going to be exactly the same person. It's an examiner. In paper 2, it might be anyone. They'll tell you who it's going to be. It could be teenagers, it could be the editor of a newspaper, it could be your MP. But in this paper, it's always the examiner that you're writing for. So let's think about who that is. Your examiner, let's be honest, is either a teacher or an ex-teacher. Someone who's been sat in a room marking these exam papers for the past week, and let's be honest, they're probably going to be pretty bored. So your job as a writer is to come up with something original, something they're not going to have read before, that's going to really interest them and engage them. If you can do that, then you're on to getting some good marks, because you're going to break the monotony of their day-to-day, their marking life. So, something that went wrong. Instantly, what I'm starting to think about is, what could go wrong that's going to be really exciting and engaging for my audience, for my examiner? And that kind of brings some different things into my mind. The first thing that comes into my head is the idea of danger. So something that goes wrong creates a dangerous situation. I know that that's going to create an interesting piece of writing. So what could we come up with? Let's think about a skydiving. Yeah, I've instantly got a situation there. If something goes wrong when I'm skydiving, there's going to be a real problem, potentially very dangerous and quite interesting. So let's say skydiving parachute fails. Good. What other ways can I create a sense of danger and excitement? What about a climbing accident? So climbing, there's some situation. What's the thing that goes wrong? The rope snaps. Okay. Instantly I can see a clear situation. I can see an easy way of getting this to work. Let's go down a slightly different route. Always interesting. What about an assassin? Someone's attempting to carry out an assassination attempt and it goes wrong. They miss. Let's say they miss the shot. and suddenly they're trying to escape, they're trying to run away. Okay, so my brain's automatically gone to kind of dangerous and violent situations. Let's try and take it in a slightly different direction. Something that could go wrong that could be either funny or kind of sweet, I suppose. How about asking someone out on a date, or even better, let's go marriage proposal. Marriage proposal. Yeah. Again, marriage proposal. Everything goes wrong. I can see a way in there to make this quite funny, to make it quite entertaining. All right, so that's fine. I've come up with 4 really basic premises for different stories. At this point, I don't need to go into much more detail than that. I just need to think about which of these ideas is going to make for the best story. So I've got 4 basic ideas. How do I now choose which one of these I go forward with and plan into more detail? Well, the way that I do it is I think about my golden rules. Okay, so let's go through the golden rules with these different scenarios and see which of them comes out on top. So golden rule number 1 says, the events of the story should cover a time period of no more than 1 hour. Okay, so skydiving, yeah, definitely it's going to be less than 1 hour, isn't it? Because it doesn't take more than an hour to fall from 30,000 feet, particularly if your parachute doesn't work. Climbing rope snaps, yeah, definitely I can easily fit that into an hour. He's not going to be able to hang on to a cliff face for more than an hour, so I need to either get him off or have him fall within that time. Good. Assassin, a little bit more tricky, but yeah, I can see that. If I start with him taking a shot and missing, I can have the events of him trying to run away. That could fit into an hour quite easily. Now, marriage proposal, fitting into an hour. I'm a little bit more dubious about this one. I kind of think with the marriage proposal, in order to make it funny, it's going to have to be lots of things going wrong, which potentially means taking up more time. To be honest, I'm going to get rid of this one already. Okay, I don't have a clear enough idea in my head of what the circumstances are, what could go wrong. Seems a little bit complicated, a little confused, so I'm going to cut it out straight away. Okay. All right, let's have a look at the second golden rule. Golden rule number 2 says there should be no more than 3 characters in the story. Skydiving, yep, easy. It's basically going to be me, possibly a guy I'm strapped to, maybe a pilot, that's about it. Climbing rope snaps, yes, again, it's going to be a small group of people, me, a couple of mates, maybe up a mountain. Assassins attempts, yeah, assassins tend to operate on their own, don't they? Okay, they might be being chased by lots of people, but they kind of don't really count as characters, so that's okay. Yeah, happy with all those. Let's have a look at number 3. Golden rule number 3. All events should take place in a single setting. Skydiving, yeah. Falling through the air is one setting. Climbing, yeah, my events are all going to take place on the side of a mountain, so that's one setting. And finally, my assassin. Bit more tricky, probably one setting to the extent that it might be in a city or something, or in a war zone or whatever. But in order to make this one work, it's probably going to have to be a bit more complicated. It's going to have to involve lots of moving, running away. I'll be honest with you, at this point I'm going to get rid of the assassin as well, because I've not got a clear enough idea of who they are, why they're there. I'm struggling to kind of narrow this one down, and I don't have long enough to come up with a thorough idea, so let's go with that. All right, so that leaves me with skydiving and parachutes. So, section number 4, sorry, golden rule number 4. The story should include one key event which creates a problem for the main character. Yep, skydiving, parachute breaks, easy, there's my problem. Climbing, they're pretty similar, these, aren't they? The rope snaps, yeah, again, one problem that needs to be fixed. The action of the story should focus on the reaction of the main characters. It should focus on the reaction of the main character to this problem. So the driving behind my story, behind the plot, is going to be how does he escape from this. So skydiving. This is where I hit a bit of a snag with the skydiving. How am I going to get him out of this situation? I can't instantly come up with an obvious way of him surviving a parachute failure. Either his parachute just works eventually, which I suppose could work, but probably isn't very exciting, or we end up in kind of slightly cheesy territory, in like landing in a haystack or something dodgy like that, or I don't know, something unrealistic like grabbing onto a passing plane or something stupid. So because I can't think of a way out of the situation that I like, I'm going to get rid of skydiving, which leaves me with climbing rope snap. I can think of lots of ways that he could escape from a rope. He's left clinging on. He's basically got to climb his way to safety. Bit of a shame. Interestingly, obviously this was the first idea that came into my head, and actually, if I'd started writing with just an idea in my head, I probably would have gone for skydiving. And this is where we can see that problem of writing yourself into a corner appears. I would have started writing. I could have written a fantastic description of him plummeting out the plane, the shock as he realises that the parachute's not working, his physical reactions, wonderful descriptions of all that sort of stuff. But then I would have got stuck because I would have struggled to find a way out of it that I liked. So it would have ended badly. So although that was my strongest idea, actually I'm going to go for the one that I think will make for the clearest story. So I've decided that the story I'm going to write is about someone climbing and their rope snapping. Okay, so now I've got my straightforward idea, my one-sentence story. I can now start zooming in and thinking about how to develop this into a proper plan. Okay, so now we've decided on our base story, a climber's rope snaps. We can start thinking about it in a little bit more detail and fleshing out some of these areas a little bit more before we start writing. Now to do that, we're going to use the kind of 4-square grid. We're going to think about the characters, we're going to think about the setting, we're going to think about the problem that we've created, and importantly, we're going to think about the solution, the exit strategy. How is he going to get out of this situation? When we're thinking about all of these, what we need to be thinking about is what effect are you trying to create? Writing is all about making the reader feel or think a particular way. So what do I want my reader to be feeling as they go through the story? And basically what I'm trying to do is build a sense of tension or create a sense of danger. So everything I do with my characters, with my setting, with the problem, with the solution, should be linking back to that idea of creating a sense of danger or tension. So first of all, let's have a think about our character. My character, who's he going to be? I think I'm going to have him be an experienced climber. Now the reason I want him to be experienced is because that means he can be in a more difficult situation. If this was his first time ever climbing, he's probably going to be about 3 feet off the ground, which doesn't create much danger. But if he's experienced, that means he can be really high up doing something kind of a bit crazy, which is going to add to that sense of danger. What other things do I need people to know about my characters? What I think is always important to do with characters is to know who they are, what sort of person they are. Because if you know a few of their characteristics, you can try and bring those out in the rest of your writing. And a good test of how well you've written is always, have you got these traits, these characteristics across? So for example, my climber, my character, is going to be brave. So he's a brave man, which makes sense, obviously. But also, this situation is scaring him. Okay, so again, this will help build that sense of danger, because if he's someone who's normally pretty tough, pretty brave, but this particular circumstance is scaring him, that's going to add to that sense of danger. What else do I want people to know about him? I would like them to know that he is, let's say, a family man. Yeah. Why? Because that's going to raise the stakes again. If something goes wrong, he's not just dying himself, but he's leaving behind his family as well. Okay, so not masses of stuff here, and I'm certainly not going to tell anyone this. This isn't something I'm going to write explicitly in my writing. You know, he's brave, but in this circumstance, he was particularly scared. Or, all right, he was a family man. Back home, he had 3 kids and a wife. No, but these are things that I'm going to suggest. These are things that I'm going to kind of show. Absolutely, these are things that I'm going to show about my character rather than tell. Okay, final thing about my character I'm going to say is that he is he's chasing a record. So let's say this climb that he is doing is like a world record breaking climb. Again, adds that sense of desire. He's going to push all the boundaries to try and achieve this, which is going to make things more dangerous. He's not going to want to just give up. Okay, setting. Where's this going to be? Well, obviously it's going to be somewhere up a cliff, but I need to be more specific than that. So I'm thinking the picture that comes into my head is kind of southern USA. Those kind of red rocks in the desert. I'm thinking of, is it Mission Impossible 2, where Tom Tom Cruise starts off hanging by one hand off the overhang of some massive red rock in a desert. That's the kind of thing that's in my head. So let's get into the specifics. So he's going to be really high off the ground. So let's say 150 foot up. Okay, so if he falls from here, he's dead. It's not just, again, out of that sense of danger. It's not just going to twist his ankle. He's actually done for. It's going to be hot, sun. Why is that good? Because it's going to add. It's going to be sweaty. So we're going to have slippery hands. It's going to be hard to hang on. It's going to be much more dangerous than it would be in other circumstances. Good, and again, I like this idea. I'm going to kind of tie this in here. Why is he there? It's always important to think about the setting. What's their motivation for being there? Well, I would say, again, it's this world record. World record. Okay. So now I've got a sort of clearer idea of my setting. I need to zoom in a little bit more. Where specifically is he with relation to this problem? So I'm going to say he's on an overhang. So that's when the cliff face kind of goes back like this, and you're hanging off it like that. It's great drawing, Simon. Brilliant. But below the overhang, I'm going to say there's a little ledge like that. Okay, just a little ledge like this. So his rope's going to break here, and he's going to be left hanging by one hand from the overhang. But there's a little ledge underneath him, which is going to come important soon. Right, the problem is his rope snaps. Don't need to go into too much detail about this. He's got himself attached on by a rope that he's hacking into the rock as he goes up, but for some reason his rope is broken, and suddenly he's left dangling by one hand. Why is this important? Well, it adds to that sense of danger, doesn't it? Most people can't hang on for very long, so it adds a time element. He's only got a matter of minutes to solve this problem. Okay, so solution. How am I going to fix this? Well, I mentioned earlier I've got a little rocky overhang here, so I'm going to have him. I'm going to have him make the decision to drop and catch the outcrop. Okay, so he's going to actually drop off the overhang, and as he's falling, he's going to try and latch onto this overhang here and be left hanging. He can then pull himself up, and then from there he can sort of reattach new ropes and save himself. Now, in terms of the actual where my story is going to end, my story is going to end with him pulling himself up onto this this outcrop. So it ends with part safety. He's not finished his climb. He's not got all the way back down. He's not let himself off the rock. But it's okay for me to finish this with him getting himself to a position of basic safety. Okay, because remember that golden rule: everything's going to take no more than an hour. I'm going to try and contract that and really focus all of the emotion into just a few minutes. So to do that, it's going to start with him pretty much a description of him being up on the rock, then the rope snapping, that moment where he's kind of left dangling, and then he's going to hang onto his overhang, pull himself back up, and that essentially is going to be the story. It will end there with him sat on the overhang, breathing heavily, and looking down at the ground, preparing to lower himself back down or carry on the climb. Okay, so at this point, I would now be happy that I've got a really clear idea of who my character is, where they are, why they're there, what actually is going to happen that's going to create a dangerous situation, and ultimately how they're going to get out of that situation to finish my story off. So at this point, I will be confident to start writing my story. Okay, so what I really urge you guys to do is to have a go at this yourself. Pick a couple of different situations and just try and plan them in this kind of detail. The more you do this, the faster you'll get at it. So I hope that was useful, and please make sure you're having a go at this yourself. Thanks very much.